Welcome to Emporia, Kansas. As so often happens, this tiny town in the middle of the plains becomes the center of the disc golf universe, if only for a weekend. It's the 2024 PDGA Masters Disc Golf World Championships. I'm Grant Zellner alongside Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. Terry, last night at the players' meeting at the historic Granada Theater, we looked across a sea of faces to see more than 500 amateurs, more than 330 professionals, all here to compete for a world championship.
Yeah, it is absolutely incredible. And as you said, back in Emporia, and appropriately, we're at Champions Landing, where in just a few days we'll be crowning more than 20 world champions here at this event. And as a gentleman who's been to more than 40 world championships in total, played in 20 of them, the players' meeting is one of my favorite parts of the entire week because it's the one time where we truly have everyone getting together. Even if it's for just an hour or so, it's the hugs, it's the interactions, it's the high fives. Sure, we have social media and people keep up better than they used to 20 years ago, but it is my favorite time of the World Championships. It's truly a family reunion.
It really is. I saw a lot of hugs. I saw a lot of people seeing each other, in some cases for the first time in years, and sharing stories. We saw some other wonderful things yesterday at the players' meeting, things that we'll get a chance to talk about, I'm sure, as the week unfolds. We're talking about people being not inducted yet, but being announced that they will be inducted into the Disc Golf Hall of Fame. We saw several receive their annual PDGA awards, the Senior Player of the Year, Sportsman of the Year. They happen to be there in competition during the course of this week, so we'll get a chance to honor them as the week goes on. But first things first, a little bit of business to take care of. As we said, well over 800 players, which means a lot of courses in play in the Emporia, Kansas area, 7 to be exact. And you know, Mother Nature is a cruel mistress, and we had weather come through this area, not now during play. It actually happened a few days ago, causing a significant rainfall and the swelling of several area creeks that are still rising as play begins, and that's going to cause some changes.
Yeah, and the exact changes as you're seeing right now. This is hole 18 at Peter Pan, a hole that obviously has now been modified. They're not able to compete. I was out there practicing and watching just a few days ago, playing that very hole. We had no problems when I was out there on Saturday. That was even after rainfall came Friday night, but we got another hit of it on Saturday night, and you can see what it's doing to some of the courses. I believe there were 6 holes that were changed at Peter Pan, and then over at Olpe, we saw 7 of the holes ultimately had to be altered simply because of the rainfall, and like you said, it might not even be at its highest level. So although we're out in the clear right now, it's just a matter of dealing with all of the removal of that extra water.
And I want to take a second to shout out a couple of different groups of people. First of all, the local committee led by tournament director Jackie Morris, the things that they have done along with the Marshall staff in terms of rearranging certain holes, going out, creating new OB lines. They were out until dark last night with paint cans, rope, other things, recreating some of these courses to maintain that championship level dynamic, even in the face of literally last second changes that were outside of their control. I want to make sure that they get a lot of credit for what they did, and you'll get a chance throughout the course of coverage this week. We'll be following several different groups during the course of the week, with that coverage coming in post-production right here on the PDGA's YouTube channel, and you'll get a chance to see in real time some of the adjustments that they had to make, and I hope you understand what they had to do in order to recreate, in some cases, at the last second, championship level courses. Speaking, though, of championship level courses, Terry, you and I sat much like this, but a long way from here, just a year ago in Flagstaff, Arizona, where we saw some incredible disc golf at last year's Masters Worlds. Let's reminisce. Welcome to the 2023 PDGA Masters Disc Golf World Championships from beautiful Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm Grant Zellner, and I'm alongside the legend Terry Miller.
I am excited to be here at both the Pro and the Am World. So many competitors, and what a beautiful place for World Championships.
Close to 900 total players here, split almost 50-50 in terms of professionals and amateurs. This is not the first time we have been to Flagstaff for a PDGA major. 20 years ago, we were in the Flagstaff area watching world champions get crowned.
The course was attackable. Plenty of players collecting a lot of birdies out here. What a competitive battle, all very much veterans of the game. It's going to be as tight and competitive as any other event you're going to watch this year. We're talking about some of the legends of the game that have been around for a very long time that have all won big events.
I'd like to present to you the world champion of the 2023 PDGA Masters World Championship, Chris Smith.
George Bodaroga, James Eustace,
Hank Newland,
Juliana Corver.
Mufflaws Renicky.
back to back, Joe Revere.
Owen Scoggins.
So much history made during the course of that 5-day stretch in the desert.
Well, and I think about the nostalgia of coming back there after we were there in 2003, and you saw in there a very early stage in Juliana Corver's career. Still Barry Schultz. That's where Barry Schultz picked up his first of 2 world titles. And so to have players be back in Arizona and experience Little America and experience everything that Flagstaff had to offer, we had near record-breaking heat. It wasn't supposed to hit triple digits, although it did. We may have some heat here this week, but it's going to also come with some humidity. That's for another conversation. The stories, though, the Joe Revere picking up his 2nd world title, Owen Scoggins getting her 3rd, watching Randy Beers get past some of those players like Dave Greenwell, who he hasn't been able to get past at the World Championships in prior years. And then you had such a great conversation with Carlos Rigby last year. The fact that he had to round up his brother and another friend to come out just to be able to have a division so that Carlos eventually would go on to beat both of them and claim a world title. Just so many incredible stories, like I was saying. I love seeing it all. It puts a smile on my face watching all those crowning moments from last year. And to think, like you said, we're just a few days away from doing it again right here in Emporia.
And a handful of those players, as you mentioned, were repeat winners, now trying to add to that legacy, in some cases getting their 2nd, their 3rd, maybe even their 4th world title in a row. That could happen as things unfold this week. We'll be right back here in Emporia, Kansas after this.
Nobody is immune to a course like Northwood Black.
Just throwing laser beams.
That's so good.
Bresnell, the birdie, the fist pump.
Critical shot.
Gotta get up. Bresnell.
That is a shot of a champion.
Your 2024 Champions Cup winner, Andrew Bresnell.
The dynamic disc jury. Man, this thing's good. I love using it for my putter up shots or even just throwing it off the tee too. Real nice. I like spinning it for deep circle 2 putts as well. When the wind comes out, whether it's putting or throwing, it's just very reliable and I can trust it. And it's even pretty solid for some little forehand turnover shots too. This thing's money. As soon as I got it, immediately made the bag. You should definitely try one out too, and you can find one at dynamicdisc.com.
You won a major in your own hometown. Looking back, what do you recall?
Magic. It just felt so magical. My family was there. My friends were there. My sponsors were on the property is where the warehouse is. It just kind of felt like a storybook ending. Jen did not make it easy. She never does. She's a great competitor. And I just kept fighting and I was like, there's no way I am not winning this. I'm going to try to do everything I can to make this happen because it's just too perfect. So I'm still on cloud 9. So.
You mentioned Jennifer Allen. Your win at that event broke a streak of 8 FP40 majors that were won by either Owen Scoggins or Jennifer Allen. What has the rivalry between the two of them meant for the sport, and what is it like for you to break into that conversation?
I mean, it's always great when you have competitors pushing each other. That's how we get better. That's how the sport grows. That's what people want to watch. No one wants to watch someone just running away with the event. And just being able to keep up with them and, beat her was just an accomplishment in itself. So I feel really proud. It's not easy, and I'm just going to have to give it my all. this week. So
The talk in your division, of course, is the longtime rivalry betwing you and Owen Scoggins. You and Owen have accounted for so many.
I don't know if it's a rival. Like, she's destroyed us, but we have been present during this long streak she's running on, and the courses are set up great for her. So she's definitely still a favorite for 4 in a row. But we're going to try to battle her the best we can.
Can you describe the nature of the relationship that you have with Owen? Is it a product of just being around each other and competing for so long? Is there more of a camaraderie there? I know it's a friendly rivalry, but how would you describe it?
I wouldn't call it a rivalry. I wouldn't call it that at all. We're teammates. We support each other. We cheer each other on. And we've played together for probably 10, 15 years. So, no, we totally, just like she was there to cheer on Holland yesterday, right? Like, she cheers on everyone. She's very supportive, and I am as well. And so we've been teammates for a very long time and really good friends. So I think either of us would be super excited to see the other one win.
Mind-blowing, Terry, when you think about it, in the FP40 division between Stephanie, Jen Allen, and Owen Scoggins, that covers every champion in every PDGA Masters major going back more than 2 years.
Well, and to add on to that, this will be Owen Scoggins' first Masters event of 2024. It is not typically where her or Jennifer Allen compete. They'll, of course, dabble in this division when it comes to the majors, but by and large, they're playing in the FPO division. In fact, Owen Scoggins, just a little more than 36 hours ago, was in a playoff with Holland Hanley on the other side of the country, playing at an Elite Series event, at a Disc Golf Pro Tour event at the Beaver State Fling. So pushing that all the way to the playoff, then ultimately taking a red eye just to get here to try and pick up her 4th world title. Nobody battles the way that Owen Scoggins does. And we heard what Jen was saying. She said, oh, we're friends, and I don't know if we're rivalries. Well, at the end of the day, Owen wants to win. She's going to cheer on everyone else around her, but she definitely wants to win. Do you feel like Jen maybe is letting her off, or is conceding already? It felt like she was a little soft on that.
Not if I know Jennifer Allen. I know that Jennifer feels like certain courses set up really well for her distance game, and I know that she feels like some of the courses this week are a little bit on the shorter side, or at least portions of them are, especially after some of the changes that were made. The fact of the matter is it's going to come down to putting, which of course usually favors Owen. But if Jennifer can work herself into position, Jen can disc down a lot. She can throw slower discs and maybe control her ground game a little bit that way. And we'll see if fatigue, it sounds strange to say it, could fatigue ever be a factor in Owen Scoggins' life? I'm not sure about it, but after having to come the wrong way on the Oregon Trail back to the plains from the Pacific Northwest, Owen just arrived, I believe, yesterday. I don't know how much experience she has on these courses, because something we haven't mentioned yet, although we did mention there are 7 courses in play for players like an Owen Scoggins, like a Jennifer Allen. They may be used to playing just 1 or 2 courses in the area from the history of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, coming here, playing here at Champions Landing, playing perhaps several years ago out at Jones Park, just about a mile to over your left shoulder here, Terry. These other courses in play, especially a player like Owen or a player like Jen, they may have a much less experience with those. In the case of Owen, she may be playing at least portions of these courses blind, as they say. So we're going to have to see exactly what kind of adjustments Owen is able to make on the fly during the course of this 5-day tournament.
Yeah, and I know that if you go back a few years, they were playing Peter Pan as one of the courses. Now, we just said that's been 6 holes of adjustments due to the flooding, but they somewhat should be familiar with Peter Pan. And I know at one point they played Swope, which is the course that they're going to be playing and starting off the tournament this afternoon. So we'll see. But obviously, Jen's been here for 3 or 4 days. Owen just getting in, and we're old enough, the Masters division is old enough to get the Energizer Bunny commercial reference that I could make, and that's something that both Jen and that Owen would be familiar with. If there's anyone that's an Energizer Bunny out there, it's definitely Owen Scoggins.
Owen, not the only one going for a repeat of a repeat when it comes to her Masters World title. Joe Revere trying to do the same thing in the MP40 division, coming off of 2 in a row, going for 3. Let's check out the MP40 division.
When you say injured, what's going on? How are you feeling? What's wrong?
Well, my wife told me not to overthrow, so I did, and I don't know for sure. She thinks something's torn in the back, but the swelling's gone down. I've been on ice for 5 days now, so I don't know for sure. I didn't go to the doctor, but it doesn't matter because I'm playing through it. Physical health, I would give myself like a 65 because of the shoulder. If it wasn't for that, I'm feeling really good in every other way. Just that. But then mentally, I'm feeling like a 90, 95. I'm feeling really good.
How serious are you taking this World Championships, knowing you've taken off a few of those other hats that you typically wear?
Dead serious, Terry. No, just kidding. I'm not at all. I'm not serious at all. Are you kidding me? I think it was a couple years ago at this point when I found out Worlds is going to be here for Masters, and I'm like, you know what? I hadn't been playing. If you go look at my PDGA, I think I played one Flex Start C tier at midnight in Alaska at one point one year, and then last year I actually went out and played some A tiers under MP40 and had some success. I mainly did it so I can qualify for this, get points, and get in the real way and not just say, hey, can I get into this? But I had some success in those A tiers. I think I finished second in the first one by a stroke down in Texas, and then I won the rest of them. So I had some success last year, and as far as taking it serious, I've been playing some golf the last couple of weeks, if that's taking it serious, going out and playing some practice rounds and those kind of things. As far as expectations go, I don't really have any on my shoulders at all. MP40 is great, and I would love to have an MP40 world title. Don't get me wrong, if it comes down to it, as soon as we hear that start whistle or as soon as my name is called on that first tee, it'll be serious. I'm a competitor at the end of the day. So, but I'm not like living and dying competitive disc golf right now. So for me, it's if I go out and win this event, I'm going to be stoked. If I go out and have a great time, I'm probably going to be even more stoked.
I didn't realize it. After I retired a bit, I gained some weight after surgery, and I couldn't get it off. And I just was busy with the company and raising a family with my wife, and we were trying. And I was about 210. And every time I threw for more than like 2 rounds, my knee felt like it was going to pop out. My back felt like it was going to break. I didn't have enough energy to get in the car. I wanted to sleep every time. And so about 3 months ago, I just woke up and said, why don't I just eat an egg and oatmeal for breakfast, a salad for lunch, and fish for dinner, and drink water? And in 30 days, I lost 26 pounds like that. And now my knee I've never even felt my knee. I haven't worn a knee brace in a month. My back, it's getting back, it's a little sore, but so I think I have a good chance to be healthy and not actually be so tired and actually have a chance to compete this week.
Playing 20, 30 events every year, and then started a family, things slowed down, and then, work. But now that I've aged into this new division, I've got there's a sense of that I want to get back out there, or feeling that I want to get out there and compete. And so, yeah, I signed up for a couple early season events. I think April, playing in the Masters division to kind of get my feet wet and get out there and play and get the competitive juices going, and with my mind on competing here in Emporia for a Masters World title.
These might be rivalries for the next 10 years. You guys have battled in MPO.
Yeah, I don't like any of these guys at all.
Is it going to be any different here with these rivalries? And are they good for the division?
I think they're absolutely good for the division. I just, like when I started playing, I looked up to Felberg. He taught me so much, to be battling with him again. It's so fun. EMAC and I, we played so many countless times over the years when I started playing disc golf, and to play with these world champions and to see what it's going to look like in 5-6 years as more of these 30-year-olds turn Masters age. I think it's going to be pretty fun. I think the MP40 division. I hope I'm still playing in the MP40 division when I'm 50, because there's going to be a lot of good players. I think the rivalries will definitely create some good storylines.
Terry, the MP40 division began teeing off right here at Champions Landing at 8 a.m. this morning. Foursomes will continue to go off about every 10 minutes or so, all the way until nearly 2:30. That's a big division. And one of the things that you just saw is the number of, shall we say, well-known big names that are aging into the Masters division. The fame at the top of the division keeps growing year over year.
Yeah, and one of the things that we heard from these guys yesterday was how long they've been playing together. Eric McCabe, Dave Felberg, Cale LaVisca have literally traveled around the globe, sometimes carpooling, caravanning, whatever, on the same flights, playing in big events and enjoying the disc golf life that they've had for all of these now decades. And so they're very familiar with one another. What was surprising to me was the amount of competitors that said they're keeping their expectations low this week. And I don't know if that's a defense mechanism or if that's just that much more respect for their fellow competitors. But to even hear someone like a Joe Revere saying, you know, he wants to have fun first and foremost. I think it should be a top priority. But he's kind of tampering his expectations. And we heard that from Cale and from Dave Felberg. So I found that a little bit interesting. And one of the people that we saw perform very well last year in his early stages of MP40, who we didn't even catch up with, I just want to touch on Matthew Blakely. We talked about what we saw out of, say, Philo and Cale LaVisca last year, how they, you know, Cale essentially lost both majors in 2023 by a single stroke overall, one to Philo, one to Joe Revere. Matthew Blakely in both of those majors, at the Selinsky and at the World Championships last year, finished in third. So right behind Cale in those two instances. So although maybe a little bit quieter and a little more soft-spoken, I think we're going to look for Matt Blakely to be a contender here this week and to see a good friend of mine, along with most of these other gentlemen as well. But Dana Vici is a gentleman I live very close to, work with quite often. Excited to see him pulling double duty this week. He's not only here as a House of Dis employee, but he's also here as a competitor. I know he's got a lot of love coming from Illinois and from his family and his two daughters back home. So certainly going to be rooting for him as well.
He's already won the mustache game as well.
On
that's
point,
already
as
decided.
always.
He's the Masters world champion in the mustache division. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how things unfold, Terry. As you said, everybody's tone here at the start, thankful to be here, the joy of seeing fellow competitors, talking about overcoming maybe a little bit of injury here and there. Age always gets you. It's always a topic of conversation. I think it's going to be very interesting, say, 48 hours or so from now when we catch up with some of these players after the round and hearing that competitive switch, like seeing it flip in real time. I think that's going to be very, very interesting. Do you have any expectations in terms of how the course is set up for any of these players that we just mentioned?
Well, I don't think anybody would be surprised that Joe Revere also said yesterday he feels like the distance out on these courses is going to be in his favor. I can't think of too many other Masters players there that throw farther than he does. Mm-hmm. And he's adjusted in terms of when it comes to the elevation that he's used to playing. He's been here now for, I think he said, 12 days
at least, yes,
out here already competing. So Joe Revere, if he can take advantage of that distance, I know he said he has an issue with his shoulder. If he can remain healthy, you have to love his chances out here to go after that third world title. I'm excited to see someone like Paul Oman as well. Paul's not exactly a short arm by any means. He figuratively and literally has long arms. So Paul is going to be a contender. He, too, is here with his friends. He's here with Cale. He's here with Dana, Shasta, Chris, the guys that he travels with and loves and has been playing with for so many years. So there's a comfort that will be there. And just like I just mentioned about Matthew Blakely, I put Martin Hendel in that same conversation. He's a contender every single year. Soft-spoken, and comes and brings some of that Canada nice along with him. And we saw during the doubles earlier in the week, a little shout-out, he already has a doubles world title along with Dave Felberg, and maybe we can get to that later in the week, breaking down some of those great competitions. People were warming up out here, taking in Jones, and excited to see how it's going to unfold.
A couple of more storylines to plant in your minds as the week unfolds right after this.
We're through 54 holes.
It is going to be an exciting championship Sunday.
Evelina with what might have been the single best drive in the division.
Evelina has been so good at throwing those direct lines.
2024 PDGA Champions Cup presented by Bushnell winner, Evelina Zellner.
In a backyard kingdom, not so different from your own.
It really feels like it's come full circle. I don't know if you know how many similarities Des and I have. We both went to the same college at the same time. I'm a year older than she is. We're both nearly 6 feet tall. We're both January birthdays. We have a lot of things that we both experienced at the same time in the same place. We were both Iowa athletes, and I think it speaks to the strength of women in Iowa. Actually, we have both had very impressive careers, and none of that would have happened without our beginnings in Iowa.
I think both of us, and we see it, are titans in this demographic. I mean, we share so many similarities with being Capricorns, going to the same university. There's so many parallels. Iowans, 6 foot tall. So we have all of these like little nuances. We're completely different in personalities, and I think that lends itself to being very unique for women to have two very achievable champions and likable, but have two distinct personalities. And so I think Julianne and I complement each other in the game, and we bring both of those aspects to it.
Terry, two thoughts come to mind. First of all, the viewer couldn't know this, but in that press conference, the two of them did not go back to back. There was an hour or so between when they walked into the room. It's eerie how similar their answers were to various questions. And the second thought is simply seeing them in person, seeing them interacting later on in the players' meet. It's like a time capsule. It's like we've gone back 20 years.
Well, and you think about all of the world titles that they've captured, and really, in my lifetime of watching and participating in disc golf, it's been a passing of the torch almost. And now some of them are coming back saying, hey, I still have plenty of light, plenty of fire in this torch. But we saw the dominance. And it started with Elaine King, who was really dominant. And eventually Juliana come along and said, hey, I'm going to collect 5 world titles. And then after that, we saw Des come along and collect 3 more world titles. And then, Valerie Jenkins from there collected. Valerie's not eligible to play yet here in our FP40 or FP50 divisions, but it's really been those pockets of dominance on the FPO side. And so to see the similarities, like you just mentioned, I think that factors right in along with everything else we were just saying. So incredible to see. They both referenced that the division was a little shy in terms of numbers. There's just 5 that are playing in the FP50 division, but then you scroll down to the next spot and you see, more than a dozen that are in the FP55 division. And it makes me think, all right, some of you ladies are all right for now, but if or when I should say, Des and we see Juliana get to that FP50, they can't hide anymore. They may have to go and compete against them. You have to wonder, are some saying, let those two battle it out. We're gonna sneak ahead. I don't know, but they're so dominant, and to see what JK still can do on the disc golf pro tour scene, playing with some women that are a little younger than her, it's absolutely incredible.
They're big fish, but the pond is only going to get larger. And no, that's not a reference to the flooding that we saw a little bit earlier that's impacted some of the courses. A couple of other storylines to leave you with before we get out of here and get to coverage. Already mentioned this before, Joe Revere, a 2-time in a row defending champion in his division, going for a 3rd.
Yeah, and Joe, like we said, he said 65% is where he's feeling in terms of physicality, but 95% mentally, that's still a pretty powerful combo.
Owen Scoggins, a 3-time defending champ, going for now what would be her 4th world title in a row.
Yeah, how anyone gets past Owen is still beyond me. No one seems to have that recipe. Stephanie, for just a moment, had a glimpse of that, and she got that earlier in the year. Jen will battle with her, but right now, you got to be looking at Owen Scoggins thinking if her putter is even half as good as what we're used to, she's going to seem unstoppable. And
a final and maybe appropriate shout out before we go today. Just a final shout out to Jackie Morris and the rest of her team here, the local operating committee in Emporia, Kansas. Jackie, of course, only the 2nd woman to direct a PDGA major tournament, the first being back in the 1980s. So shout out to Jackie Morris and her squad, as well as all of the marshals and others that come out for these events. They do a lot of work in the days leading up to an event, and then once the event starts, their role sort of shifts, and what that work is that they've done. Some of it you can see, some of it comes across on camera. A lot of it you can't see, but the players know it's there and the players appreciate it, and I think that's a very important thing.
It certainly is, and all the volunteers that will come out throughout the week. There's literally painted on the side of a building when you're out on the highway here, it says Emporia knows disc golf. That is so true when you're here in this town, the way that they welcome us time and time again, not just for majors, but for any event that's ever been here, along with the House of Disc and the Dynamic Disc crew. The welcoming is, it's why we keep coming back. And I'm just so privileged and honored to be here. I love the fact that we're going to be talking about the golf throughout the entire week. We have to thank our friends over at Ace Run as well as Gatekeeper. I know they're going to be putting together the footage that's going to all be found on the PDGA media page right where you are right now. So make sure you're hitting that button and subscribing and everything else. And one final shout out from our perspective, where we're set up in the booth today and where we'll be crowning our champions. Once again, Champions Landing here in Emporia. Jeremy Rusko and the crew having us here and playing host to us. I can't say it enough. I'm going to get out on the course and I'm going to go find something to film because there's action everywhere, Grant.
You can follow along literally with us at PDGA Live and toggle yourself through the 24 divisions in play. You can get real-time updates in terms of how they're scoring, including right now with some players already out on one of the 7 courses in the Emporia, Kansas area, already making their mark here at the 2024 PDGA Masters Disc Golf World Championships. For Terry Miller, I'm Grant Zellner. We'll see you later in the week.